Miss Flossy Azu. I'm a graduate of the Harvard School of Education. I'm currently working with communications for a local diaspora community group called Africans in Boston. I work remotely. I just moved back to Ghana on Thursday, so that's about 42 hours ago, and I'm very excited about that. Ghana is home. I haven't lived here for the past 13 years, but I've always had a vision and a desire to be back home. So I've always thought that moving back home was something that I'd want to do. I kind of had a purpose for moving back home. Like everybody has a plan for their life. It's very, I'll do this, do this, do this. This is my 5-year goal. This is my 10-year goal. But it came to the point in my life where I was comfortable enough with the move where I was like, if I don't do it now, I won't ever do it. I'm childless, I'm single, and I'm ready to mingle. So I decided to come back home. Yes, I do have some ideas of what I want to do back here. So I think of myself as a Ghanaian woman, but I'm also very committed to the continent as a whole. So I've done some projects with the Ministry of Education in Senegal. I'm interested in traveling around Africa, getting to know what the educational systems, and when I'm talking about education systems, I'm talking about public education, because I feel like public school is something that Africa really suffers for, but education is a human right and should be free and should be accessible and should not be something that is withheld based on the child's social demographic, which they're born into, which they actually have absolutely no choice over. So what I want to do is I want to revive the nonprofit organization that I founded when I was 18 called Kasemo Art, which is about inclusion, it's about disability in education, it's about thinking of how to bring marginalized populations, street kids, people who don't have access to teachers even in their classroom or textbooks. Like, it's about making sure that high quality education is accessible and available to all children. I'm also going to continue writing. I do love to write. I'm continuing to be connected with Africans in Boston and kind of like generating the first ever on the ground continent connection with the diaspora, kind of bridging Africa to the world, which is our tagline. I'm also going to be working on learning. The first year that I'm here, I want to be traveling, I want to be learning, I want to know, because when I moved away from Africa, I was still very young, I was still a child, I had all these ideas about what the world should look like, but I feel like 2 degrees after and some life experience, I'm ready to understand and acknowledge that I don't know everything, and the best way to grow is to learn. So I'm going to avail myself to different opportunities and to learn and see what impact I can make on the continent. Reimagining Africa. Now that's huge. That's huge because I feel like Africa has a lot of potential. Africa currently is the youngest continent, and so I think of the potential that there is, the human capital that there is, the thirst that there is, the innovation, the creativity, the availability to take risks and try new things. And what I see for Africa is, let me see how I can put this eloquently. I see an Africa where nobody leaves because it's the best place to be. And not just because of jollof, not just because of fried plantains or kilewele, not just because of azonto or shoki, but because this is where the opportunity is. This is where the raw materials are. This is where the industry is. This is where the jobs are. This is where the future is. So when I think of Africa, I think of innovation, I think of creativity, and I also think of resources and the ability to utilize those resources to the best of our capabilities. So I think of rebirth, I think of regrowth, I think of development, I think of opportunity. So for the next 12 months, like I mentioned before, I'd like to learn. I like to form connections. So this is strategic networking. I like to know what other people are doing and find ways in which I can tap into their talents and then bring my talents also to the table. I want to, build a new social group, build a new network. There are people that I've kept in touch with over the years, but then there's also a lot happening here that I do not know, because every time I come to visit, but this is the first time that I'm actually living here as an independent young single woman. So I'd like to form connections. I'd like to get to know what people are doing. I'd like to do a little bit more informal research, see what the market has to offer, and then get started. My commitment. In the next 12 months, I will find a job. That's the first thing that I have to do. I have to find somewhere to work, and not just a job that pays the bills, but a job that has the kind of impact that I want to see. A job that connects people to their talents, to the skills that they need in order to get jobs that are important. And also, I want to think about finding out what the industry looks like. And when I say the industry, I mean education, naturally, because I am committed to education. I've been working in education since I was 16 years old, and it's something that I'm very passionate about. I believe education is the key for economic and human development, and so I want to find ways in which I can get into the education world, the education sector, and see what's happening there and how I can be involved. I also want to recommit myself to my nonprofit organization and work on inclusion. How are we going to get kids of different abilities into the mainstream classrooms? How are we going to train teachers to be able to think of these different needs that the classroom has and meet every student at their need? Because research has shown that when a teacher teaches, keeping in mind the most significant disability, there are significant gains across the board. So that's my commitment. What do I need right now? I think what I'm looking for is I'm looking to get to know information. I feel like sitting in front of my computer in Boston, if I was to Google, I wouldn't find out a lot of information about disability and disability inclusion and disability education that's happening in Accra or that's happening in Dakar. So I'd like to know more. If there's a way to share information, you can reach out to me. I have Facebook. I'm on social media. You can catch me by email, and I'd like to see what other people are doing. Invite me to your schools, invite me to your institutions, to your foundations, your nonprofit organizations. I want to see what work is being done. I feel like Harvard on the continent it's a tricky question. I know that Fred Swaniga is committed to having a world-class higher education institution, and at least 10 of them, I believe, is the last I heard him say, on the continent. It's something that ALU is looking to do, and I admire ALU and all the great work that they're doing. I hesitate to think about a Harvard on the continent, because I feel like the institution of Harvard, which I know that I guess I bought into it too, but it has thrived on exclusivity. It has a history of being the best by leaving out the rest. And so I'm not sure that's a model that we want to replicate on the continent. If we're thinking of innovation, if we're thinking of great education, if we're thinking of access to resources, access to the best teaching and learning opportunities, then yes. But if we're thinking of the kind of Harvard that kind of like feeds into the H-bomb or the best of the best and better than the rest, then I'm not sure that's something that Africa necessarily needs right now.